Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of College Hockey Talk. On today's episode, I am joined by captain of the Maine hockey team, Jack Quinlivan. Welcome to the podcast, Jack, and how's everything going?
Hey Matt, everything's going good. Season's over now, so just hanging around and just kind of reflecting on everything. And it's good to get that experience through. Honestly, I know it was pretty tough, but it was a good experience.
Yeah, obviously this year's college hockey season was very different compared to other ones, and you dealt with many challenges, especially with all the schedule changes you faced, and since you guys didn't play a home game until the final playoff game. So, what was the secret through getting through all those challenges, and talk about the challenges you had to face personally as well?
Yeah, it was honestly pretty tough. I think every team in the country had it pretty bad, but for us not playing home games and we were on pause a good amount of the year. But I think the main thing was just to look for gratitude in every day and what you're thankful for. I think that was such a huge thing for a lot of the guys on our team. Just kind of looking for that gratitude and what you're blessed to have, and then just focus on each day. Um, but it was honestly super tough even with that. I think I was in 3 quarantines throughout the whole year, and a lot of the guys did the same thing. And you're kind of sitting there in quarantine, and obviously, it's just so hard to. It's like you're kind of thinking, is it all worth it? And I think for me as a leader on the team, you kind of sense that in the guys, and it's just so hard to have all that buy-in when you're just kind of sitting around. It's just like, what are we doing? But like our team battled, as best as they could, and we had guys that had all out buy-in every time we stepped on the ice, and just a great group of guys. And I know it's not the results we wanted, but looking back on the journey, it helped us grow a lot as a team. And I'm so proud of those guys battling through everything. It really wasn't easy. But like, yeah, just for me personally, just always trying to check the pulse on the team and where they're at and where their heads at. And it brings on a lot of stress. And I think like as far as mental health, I think I mean for our team, and I think for every other team, it definitely was a whole nother toll this year. Going through COVID protocols, and if you're going to get a positive test, you never know, and stuff like that. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, and you also had to deal with the schedule changes, like I just alluded to, especially in Hockey East, where you guys didn't know who you were going to play until the Tuesday before the weekend. How did you deal with all those schedule changes in your schedule, and what was the key for maintaining flexibility for this season?
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. I mean, so we would like our schedule would be like we'd have our weekend game, and then we just have like kind of a flow type practice on Monday. Um, and then like Tuesday we would know. I think they would announce it Tuesday, and then we would start preparing for the team. So I think it definitely, as far as I think it was tougher from a coaching standpoint because you had no idea who you're really going to play, and you kind of had to compile all the film you could in a short amount of time and get the team ready as fast as we could. So I think that was definitely challenging. Um, what also was challenging was like we were supposed to play in like November, and I think we didn't play until like mid-December or something. It took a long time for our team to get playing. And I think the whole preparation, we got there at the end of August, and it's just like we had to keep practicing and practicing and practicing. And it's like, are we ever going to play a game? And it was just hard to keep that focus. But again, like I thought we all did a great job, but it's definitely challenging. But it was definitely a good experience.
Isn't it an adjustment going to game form versus practicing for all that time? Because obviously, when you're practicing for 4 months, you're playing the same guys over and over again, and then it's like a change of
Mhm.
pace when you're playing a different team. Did you notice that playing your first game this year?
Yeah, I think you definitely notice it. Like we did a great job getting in shape. Like I think we would do like blue versus white scrimmages every Friday or Saturday. And it was great for conditioning and getting in that game condition. But like when our first game we stepped on the ice for UNH, we didn't even know if we were gonna play until like a couple days before because the state had to clear us, the school had to clear us to play, and we just didn't know. So I think we were all kind of focusing on like what the answer was going to be, and then we kind of stepped on the ice, and it was just like, all right, here we go. And oh yeah, it was definitely different because you had to wear masks. Well, we wear masks throughout the whole preseason, but just the game atmosphere, masks, no fans,
Yeah.
and UNH, it's a lake out there, so it's just kind of definitely it was definitely different. But again, I'm really thankful that we got to play this year at all. But yeah, it was definitely different.
Was it weird not playing in front of any fans, and was that an adjustment, especially at Alphon, where you guys pack the house every night and the atmosphere kind of makes your team rise to the occasion, especially during playoff games?
Yeah, I think the biggest times I noticed it was the first game at UNH because we had never played without fans before, and they always pack it there versus us, obviously. And then our last game at home, it was just weird. We were all excited to have a home game, and then obviously we knew we were gonna have no fans, but like the energy was just different. Like like that place is something special up there. Like the Alphon, it's honestly the best place to play college hockey. So like if you're a player on another team, like you better hope, you're coming to our. I mean, it sucks for travel, but it's so worth it to go up there and experience that. And just playing there every home game, it's awesome. So yeah, it was honestly really weird. But some of the schools, like we kind of got into a rhythm where we knew there was not going to be no fans. Like if you had like 2 or 3 weekends in a row, and so you just knew what to expect. But yeah, I think being at home with no fans was definitely, it was a whole different energy.
Especially at some of those arenas, because I know a lot of schools in Hockey East, or at least some of the schools in Hockey East, they weren't even playing in their regular home stadium. They were playing in like their practice facilities. I know BU played at Walter
Mhm.
Braun, and I think UConn played at Freitas. So was that an adjustment playing in some new arenas that you didn't experience before?
Um, not really. I think the Yukon one was definitely interesting because we had never played there, and but it was cool to see their campus because I had never been there, so that was honestly kind of cool to see that. But Walter Brown's like it's a pretty standard rink. Like the older, the teams back in the day used to play there, the BU men's, and now the BU women's play there. So it's a good rink, and wasn't too much of an adjustment, but it was a cool experience, I'd say.
Now, something else that was introduced to college hockey this year was 3-on-3 overtime. What was that like for yourself, kind of being an offensive player and having more space on the ice and having more opportunities to score goals and create offensive opportunities for your teammates?
Yeah, I think I just liked it personally because yeah, just more offensive opportunities and more chances to end the game. Like we like last year, we had a few ties and guys were just like, we hate ties. Like we don't
Yeah.
want that to happen. Like no one wants to tie. And to have that 3-on-3 and the shootout, I thought that was just a pretty good way to like say, we don't want ties anymore. And it's just like it's kind of satisfying, if you win or you even if you lose. It's just like tie, it's just like no one really likes that outcome.
Yeah, especially in college hockey for the fan aspect, it's much more fun to watch, and you get to highlight some of the skilled players in college hockey, which I think is important as well to help grow the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think in 5-on-5 sometimes a little bit of the skill gets lost. But then like, you might have some guys that excel in 3-on-3 and might not play too much 5-on-5, and they got the opportunity to go out there and play and show what they got. And I think it's great for the game. I mean, you already play 60 minutes of 5-on-5. Why not switch it up for overtime?
Definitely, definitely. And talking to other players, they say you have to be more defensively minded in those 3-on-3 overtime situations because if you make one
Oh
little
yeah.
defensive mistake, it can cause an odd man rush. Is that something you noticed when you were in them?
Yeah, I think noticing the like you have to stay on your guy in 3-on-3. Like if you lose your man, it creates odd man rushes, odd man opportunities, and you don't want to let those up. Also, you got to be really smart on the changes. So, like you want to have the puck at all times and just control the puck the whole time. That way, you can get guys on and off the ice. If the other team has the puck, it's so hard to change, especially if they're in your zone or just regrouping in the neutral zone. So I think puck possession is obviously so key there. But yeah, you have to be so much more defensively minded. I know we lost a game in BU where it was just like a brain fart, like any other brain fart, but it's exposed so much more in 3-on-3 because there's just so much ice. and it can cost you. So just stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, especially those line changes, because there's been some 3-on-3 overtimes I've watched where the guys are just absolutely gassed in the defensive zone, and they lose the game because they don't have that energy they had previously when the overtime started.
Yeah. So our last regular season game at UMass, we were at UMass, and it was 3-on-3, and they had the puck, and they went to like back out of the zone and regroup, and our guys were gassed, and you could
Mhm.
hear the UMass bench. They're like, "No, like don't
Yeah.
regroup," because we
Yeah.
had the far change, and they didn't want us to get a change. Our guys were gassed, so like
Mhm.
they had to keep the puck up the ice so our guys couldn't change. It's just like it's a chess match, and I thought that was that's basically the perfect example of 3-on-3 hockey. Is just control the puck, don't let them change, and wear them out, and you'll eventually get a good chance.
Especially at UMass where the rink is much bigger than other ice surfaces in college hockey, so it's you even more gas because you have to cover more space.
Yeah, it's huge, and I think if you watch NHL 3-on-3, it's a little different because they play so many games. So if they let up like an odd man rush, they're like, all right, it is what it is. And I think, but on the same side, they're like, if they stop their odd man rush, they're gonna go back the other way with an odd man rush. I feel like it was a lot more up and down, where ours was like more puck control, like trying to
Yeah.
find that good chance.
And some of those goalies in the NHL can make ridiculous saves to keep their teams in it. So that was another thing I noticed, at least the difference between NHL and college hockey.
Yeah, exactly. I'd have to agree with that.
Now, speaking of yourself, what did you improve on the most since last year?
I think my possession with the puck, I think just looking to make an extra play or make that play instead of, my role as a bottom six forward is to kind of, put pressure on the other team and be physical and be tough to play against. But I think, getting bigger, stronger, faster over the summer in the preseason, I want to take that extra step and use my skills and try to find making the right plays with the puck to create offense. And I think I took a really good step in that direction this year, even though we played 13 games. It was hard to get in a rhythm at first, but once we got started playing games, I try to focus on that a little more. And, I thought I did a pretty good job with that this year because myself is like more of a checking defensive forward is kind of my role. I just wanted to expand that and be more versatile just to help the team a little more. So I thought I did a good job with that.
Yeah, what did you do in the off season to improve on that area of your game, especially with gyms being closed and ice time being very limited?
Yeah, that's the thing. It was really a tough summer for me because I had a lot of plans going in on what I wanted to do, and how I wanted to improve my game. But I have a pretty similar setup each summer where I mean you'll know the area. I work out at Worcester, Mass, and I
Yeah.
usually work out at the Worcester Ice Center, and there's a gym in there. But we worked out in the parking lot this summer with Jeff Oliver, who's the strength coach at Holy Cross. So I do his program in the summer, and then that involves skates, which are a lot of like the local players around where I'm from. They hop on, and we do some skills stuff there. So that's basically what I did a lot this summer that helped me. And then this summer, I'll look to get more, better at skating, better, um, stamina wise and like stride efficiency. I think that's huge, if you want to get to the next level. And I think skating's such a big part of it. And if you can keep skating and, not get tired or have that extra gear, I think that's so huge.
Yeah, I think in Central Mass, it was like we were shut down the longest compared to other parts of the country.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
in
Like
British Columbia.
yeah, exactly. I had teammates in BC and in Western Canada where like everything was normal. So
Yeah.
like had a normal summer, and it's just like me and a few of the guys in Massachusetts where, it was the longest time where you couldn't
Mhm.
really do anything. So it was kind of tough for me to have like a normal summer. But it worked out.
Yeah, I know you were talking to Pat Shea and you said you were tired of doing all those like band workouts instead of not using normal body weights. How did you adjust to that when you got back to Maine?
Yeah, I mean, it's just tiring. Like I didn't really have much at first in the summer where I just had no weights and stuff, and it was just kind of tough. But we had so much time to prepare at Maine, and the strength coach there a fantastic job at getting us in shape and ready for the season because we had so much time, so we could build up strength, speed, stamina, and I think as soon like when puck was ready to be dropped in November, it was probably the best we've been in. And I think a lot of it would say the same thing. But then we just get putting on pause and pause and pause, and it's just kind of changed our schedules a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't really that much of an adjustment coming from here to Maine because I just had so much time to get in shape and keep working on my strength.
Yeah, no, and you were also named captain of the team this year. What type of leadership did you want to bring the team, and were you more of a vocal or lead by example type of player?
I just try to be my own guy. I think just being myself got me to where was voted captain by my teammates, and I just wanted to stay true to myself. I'm a little bit of a both. I like to lead by example first and foremost. I think that's kind of how I got to where I got. Just keep putting the work in daily and just being a good guy and invest in your teammates' personal lives on and off the ice and be a good friend. I think it goes a long way. And when people appreciate that and they look at you as a type of leader and someone that cares about you and the team. Um, it's kind of how I view myself. And I think this year more than ever, I had to be a little more vocal, just to keep guys on track and see how guys were doing and, just checking the pulse on the team because it always wasn't easy getting through it. So kind of want to keep encouraging guys to keep going. And yeah, so that's kind of my leadership style. And um, yeah, I just staying true to myself, basically.
Yeah, no, and talk about the freshman class and how did they adapt to college hockey, especially during this year where this is a season that you've never experienced before. So how did you try to help their transition into college hockey?
They were great, honestly. They're all a bunch of great kids, and I think they were kind of just happy to play college hockey. And my job as a leader, and I think all the upperclassmen on the team were really focused on welcoming them into the team with open arms, and they fit in so nicely. And I think it was tough for them because they were in the dorms and they had to deal with like all the on-campus housing protocols, and they had to move to different dorms during the winter when it was Christmas break. And if they were quarantined, they were kind of isolated in their own dorm room, and it's just not much space and not much freedom. So that was kind of tough for them. But as far as playing and practicing every day, they were fine. They fit right in, and but I think just that first, they didn't really know what to expect because they have never been in college, so
Mhm.
they didn't experience what we had previously experienced. So I think they don't really know what they're missing out on. But hopefully next year they'll see what it's actually like. Hopefully, and I think we were all going through it together. We didn't really know what to expect this year, so it was kind of hard to help them, but we kind of just got through it all together.
Yeah, no, I can't wait for their experience. Their first game at Alphond with the fans, I think that's gonna be a sick experience for them.
Yeah, it'll be great. I mean, it's what everyone that comes here dreams of. So
Yeah.
I can't. I'll be so happy for them to finally see that full crowd experience.
Now I want to transition and start talking about the beginning of your hockey career. You're from Shrewsbury, Massachusetts. How did you start playing hockey and falling in love with the sport?
I think. Well, my cousins had played hockey. My older cousins. So my dad wanted me and my brother to get into the sport. So we just started growing up playing Shrewsbury youth hockey and growing up and then going to different travel teams and stuff around the area and just started to enjoy the game and love it. And we just enjoyed playing and getting better. And I don't think college was necessarily on my mind. I think that was a huge dream for me to play college hockey, but I just enjoyed playing the game. And then once it got time to go to high school, I just played public high school. And I love doing that because, playing for your town and your school was kind of, a surreal feeling. And having all the people from your town coming to watch you was really cool. Um, so I think by the time I got there, I was just like, I, I was pretty good to where I wanted to keep playing, but I just didn't know where I was going to end up. Um, and I think I just enjoyed playing. So, and I just wanted to keep playing. And then sure enough, a few years later, I ended up at Maine. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I know. And who was your favorite player growing up?
Oh, I don't, probably Joe Thornton. I think because he was on the Bruins when I was really young, um, and he was, he was like the young, the star of the team, and I liked watching him growing up. And then we got an autographed signed jersey of Joe Thornton on the Bruins, and then the day we framed it and put it up in my room, he got traded to the Sharks.
Oh, that's
So
awful.
yeah, I mean that was pretty funny, but I'd say he was my favorite player. And then I like watching guys like the intensity Ovechkin has. I
Mhm.
think I admire because he plays with his heart on his sleeve, and it's really cool to watch him as well.
Well, luckily for the Bruins, they got much better throughout the late 2010s and obviously won the cup. So that must have made up for that trade, I guess.
Yeah, it was all good. I mean, the return for Thornton was probably the worst trade in the history of the NHL, but at least they ended up winning the cup, a few years later.
Well, they did get Marco Sturm, and people forget. I thought he was a pretty solid player for them. He got the
He was solid, but it's just like Joel Thornton put up like 90 points. I think the year he got traded or something. It's
Yeah.
just like the return for that. It's just like kind of hard. But Sturm was a great player, and I think even like Brad Stewart, who had a long NHL career, and Primo, who was an established center, like they were all good players. But it's just like I don't know. You like to see a little more,
It's kind
giving
of
up
like
some
the
a guy
Tyler
like Joel
Seguin
Thornton.
trade.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, kind of like that.
Yeah, because Louis Erickson, I know people have a lot of things to say about him, but he was decent when he was with the Bruins, and same with Riley Smith for that one season. It just those guys just couldn't stick around in Boston.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, obviously, growing up in Central Mass, I know it as well as you do. It's a lot different than like Eastern Mass hockey. So I'm curious, where did you play youth hockey? Was it the Worcester Junior Sharks? Was it the Junior Crusaders? Like, where did you start up at?
Yeah, so it's completely different to what it is now. But I started off in the Worcester Crusaders, and they
Oh,
were like I don't know, they were in some travel league. I forget what MBHL or something like that, Metro Boston Hockey League. I forget, but it was a travel team, and you played some pretty good teams like Connecticut Lasers. Oh, I forget. It was so long ago. So a couple teams out of Rhode Island. But it was good competition. And then I eventually transferred over to the North Star Selects in Westboro, and played. Played like another. It was a different league, but kind of similar. But I never really played like those Eastern teams. Like it was
yeah.
all like Connecticut, Rhode Island, stuff like that. But I never really had seen Eastern Mass hockey, probably until I was in high school.
Yeah.
And it was pretty crazy. Like I had no idea what hockey was like out there, and it's really intense. And there's so many good players out there.
Mhm.
And there is here. There's a good amount of players, but there it's just loaded with talent. So it's just pretty crazy.
No, I'm a big Central Mass hockey guy. I try to promote it as much as I can. I played for the
Yeah.
Junior Sharks, and it was a fun experience. Some of the arenas I got to play in were pretty cool. You got to play at Holy Cross's hockey arena at the
Yep.
Hart Center, scored a goal there. We played at the
There
DCU
you go.
Centers. Yeah, no, played at the DCU Center as
Yeah.
well for one game. That was fun. So, did
Yeah,
you
I
play any
played
of
all
those
the same
arenas?
places. So I mean, as a kid growing up and playing at the DCU and the Heart, it was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, the Hart's a nice arena, and every time I go there, I get the nostalgia because it has that smell. I don't know if you experience it, but just I don't know.
Yeah,
There's something about it that I like.
yeah, and like going to Shrewsbury, we play St. John's there, and the place would be sold out. So that was
Yeah.
a really cool experience.
Now, before Maine, like you just mentioned, you played for your high school in Shrewsbury. Talk about your high school hockey experience and what did you take away from it?
Yeah, I think it's something I'd never trade playing with your high school buddies you grew up with and playing with. Um, and unfortunately, we had some really good teams. So we won a state championship my junior year, which is winning that with I played with my brother and a lot of my close friends. It's something you'll never forget. And kind of walking through the halls at school, people know if you play for the team or play sports and
It was kind of a cool experience to be a part of that and have the town, like I said, have the whole town come out and support your team and every game you play. And like the stands were packed and it
Mhm.
was so much fun. And you just create memories forever. Like if I'll get together with those guys who I played with, like we just talk about stories, from when we played, and it's just like every time we see each other, and it's so funny and so much fun to reflect on all of it. So it's really cool.
Yeah, and you won a state championship like you just mentioned. What was it like winning that and getting to play at the Mass Mutual Center in Springfield? Because my high school won that state championship my freshman year. It was just a really cool experience just because you're playing at an AHL facility.
Yeah, so we played there, the state semis, and then the state finals we played at the TD Garden.
Oh,
So I
nice.
mean, you can't beat that. And never thought I'd be playing at the Bruins arena. So that was really cool. And oh, it was such a cool experience just going through that whole tournament process and going to all those different rinks. It was definitely really cool.
Yeah, and since Shrewsbury is a D3 high school hockey program, did you face any adversity getting noticed by junior teams or by college hockey scouts?
Yeah, yeah, huge. I mean, I played my junior and senior years at Shrewsbury. I played on the North Stars, and we played in a couple really good fall leagues. So I played against some really good competition, but it's just like I was never really noticed or anything. And I think playing Division 3 high school was just it kind of set me back a little because as much as I love playing it, like it's just not as talented as prep school or some of the junior leagues. So you're kind of, you know, you have to grow on your own and develop on your own rather than like, your season you're gonna grow. It's kind of tough. That was a huge challenge because I feel like as soon as I left Shrewsbury, uh, prep school, I was kind of trying to catch up. And then the next year I went to play for the Junior Bruins. Was trying to catch up to the pace and stuff like that. And then, when I got to Maine, freshman year was pretty tough. And then I finally started to feel I was, I felt the pace coming to me my sophomore year, like the second half. I finally felt like I could be at that level and excel. Um, so it was definitely hard. I mean, there's always pros and cons. Like I would never trade my high school experience, but it's kind of hard to make it out of there from where I am now. Um, it's really tough. So yeah, there was definitely a lot of adversity.
Yeah, no, like a lot of the schools here in Central Mass are like D3, D5 programs, so it's definitely hard. And a lot of those guys that I know have to go out to juniors or have to go to prep schools out in Eastern Mass. So I thought it was really cool that you went through your high school hockey experience and still made it. And it really inspires players like myself to get better. So, like, what did you do to motivate yourself during those times of adversity?
Um, yeah, it was just like I just found every little thing I could do or like type of exposure, and like I didn't. I think there's a lot of camps or like things where there's a scam, but if there's anything where I could work on my skills in the off season or like anything like that, I try to take advantage of. And then I just stayed motivated. Honestly, through high school, I was motivated more than anything to win a state championship. So I think that's what motivated me to get better. Um, and then after my senior year, I was like, anything I gotta do to play at the next level, I want to do. So I traveled a lot to look for a lot of high end skills camps or summer camps or clinics that I thought would be good for me. And I did that year, and it kind of helped me get to the next level to where I wanted to be.
Yeah, you played for Albany Academy. Talk about that experience and what was that like for you?
Yeah, it was great. So the guy who found me is now the coach at LIU, and I played for Boston Generals, which was his summer team. His sorry, and he wanted me to go play for him at Albany Academy. So he was the first guy that kind of believed in me. Thought I could play. Like he recruited me. He's like, "Yeah, we'll find you a good D3 home." And like all I cared about was using hockey to get into a good school and get a good education. So I really worked at it, the summer after my senior year at Shrewsbury. And sure enough, that fall when I was playing on a split season team, a few D1 teams were interested, and one of the first ones was Maine. So that's kind of how that worked out. But Yeah, it was pretty cool. Just Albany was it's a lot smaller school than Shrewsbury, but it was a good experience. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, and listening to an interview that you did with Pat Shea, you were talking about how you really wanted to play college hockey because you used to watch Hockey East on Essen on Friday nights, like I did myself. Was it cool getting the experience with Maine and getting to live out your dream playing in Hockey East?
Yeah, it was super cool. Um, yeah, I just watched, every Friday, Saturday Hockey East, and then it didn't really hit me that my my family was going to watch me, and it just
Mhm.
kind of it didn't sink in because I was always so focused on playing and just like kind of looking at it and kind of looking back at it. To do that and to see them, to see people in Shrewsbury watch me on Nesson and just let me know, it was really cool.
Who was your favorite player to watch in Hockey East when you were growing up? Because I loved watching Jack Eichel when he was with BU. He was just insane to watch.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Jack Eichel was really cool. I try to look for like a lot of the local guys. Like I'm I'm friends with Bobby Butler, who's from Marlboro. And he played at UNH, so I was a big Bobby Butler fan. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's so many great players. I think obviously watching Johnny Gaudreau and Nathan Gerby and Brian Boyle and all the guys at BC, I think those were some really talented teams, and obviously the ones at BU too. Those are pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, I was a big Miles Gendron guy, especially since he's from Shrewsbury as well.
Yeah, Miles he's a great player at UConn too, and I grew up going to elementary school with him, so we've been friends for a long time. So I got to play against him, which was really cool and fun.
Yeah, and you also played for the Boston Junior Bruins. How'd you get the opportunity to play there, and how did that help your development for hockey, and how did that help prepare you for college hockey?
Um, yeah, so I mean, I was committed to Maine and just trying to find a home for junior, and I think it was between that and the BCHL, and me and my family thought if I just stayed close to home and kind of lived comfortably for a year, rather than risk going out to the BCHL and not really knowing what's going to happen. Um, that was kind of my decision, and it was my first year playing junior, so I think playing in that league and getting adjusted and playing well and excelling, I think that was kind of my main goal before I wanted to get to Maine.
Now, talk about your recruitment process, and why did you choose Maine, and when did Maine come on your radar when you were in that recruiting process?
Yeah, so my the fall of Albany Academy, I played in a showcase in Foxborough um, for the Maine Nordiques. Or no, just for the Nordiques, not the Maine Nordiques. But it was a lot of Albany kids, a lot of kids from the New York area, and or Pomfret, like a bunch of those kids. And I played really well all fall. And this was like it wasn't a big showcase, but a lot of scouts were there. And I just played really well. And after the game, this assistant coach from Maine at the time, Jay Leach, came down and talked to me, and he wanted me to come up and visit. And I think that next weekend I came up and visited, and they offered me, which I was really thankful for. And I give all the credit to Brett O'Reilly, who was my prep school coach, and getting me the exposure I needed. And I got recruited by a couple other schools that, it was a great experience to go through the recruiting process. So, I mean, that's kind of the gist of it. It was out of nowhere, honestly. Like, I played well, worked hard, and then all of a sudden one weekend someone sees you and they like what they see, and, they want you for your program.
And you're talking about how you had to adjust to college hockey. What was the biggest adjustment you had to make? Was it the speed of the game, or was it kind of just the physicality since you're going against players that are 5 years older than you are?
Yeah, I think for me, it was definitely the speed of the game. And I had never really been exposed to, college level, playing. I think I worked as hard as I could, growing up and through high school and up to that point at Maine. But there was just another level where you could get to. And I never really knew that or had experienced it. Um, and I think right when I got in, I could play, like I could hang in there. But it was just the speed of the game, not physically, but mentally as well, where it's just like you had to know what you were going to do with the puck before you even got it. and just like create space for yourself. I think those were the biggest adjustments for me. Like if you can think the game well, you're going to be all right. But it takes time. And I think it took a little time for me.
Now, you got to play in Northern Ireland your freshman year. Talk about playing there, and what do you remember from it?
Yeah, so that was my first game for Maine. I wasn't supposed to play. Um, like a few days before our scrimmage, the coaches told me I was going to redshirt, and I basically told them like I didn't come here to do that. Like I came here to play, and I'm just going to kind of prove you guys wrong. And so it was November, Thanksgiving weekend. We played in Ireland, and the team was kind of struggling, and I was practicing really well. So the coaches gave me a shot, and it was my first game, and it was pretty cool. Like, the rink is really nice, and but it was like Students' Day or something. So like all the kids from the school went on a field trip to watch like the hockey games.
Yeah.
And there was a bunch of kids in the crowd, and we played RPI and won that day. So it was really cool. But Belfast is a great city. Like we got to experience a whole week of like sightseeing and just walking all over Belfast and in Ireland and meeting all different kinds of people, and it was really cool. Like we got to see Giants Causeway, which is like a really cool sight to see, and but just getting to bond with your teammates there and a different experience, like it was something I'll never forget. It was so much fun. So I'm really lucky I got to play there.
Yeah, that arena is huge, and there's so many advertisements on the ice, which I thought was an adjustment as a viewer because you're just not used to that, especially in the NHL.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That is a good point. But the arena is pretty nice. So
Yeah.
it's where the Belfast Giants play in that league. But it was pretty cool. Yeah.
No, it's cool because I never knew they had hockey in Ireland, to be honest with you. So it's cool to see that there's like a professional team and that they actually are really good as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, you got to play in your first playoff series against New Hampshire your freshman year as well. You won that series. What was it like to get your first playoff experience and win that series as well? And how did that help your development coming into your sophomore and junior year with Maine?
Yeah, I think just seeing the playoff atmosphere at the Alphon was really cool. I didn't dress that weekend, but just seeing like the intensity of it, and it's just a whole different animal. And then the next weekend we played Providence, and I got in the second game, and it's just like everyone's kind of dialed in and to a whole different level. And it definitely helped my development because just I knew I could play at that level, but I wanted to take that next step to be an everyday player. And there was glimpses of ice where I thought I knew I could be there and I deserved to be there, and I just wanted to make that happen. So coming into my sophomore year, that was my goal, and played in every game and did well. And then I just kept earning my ice each year, and getting more and more ice. So just keep working at it, and then you just see like different parts of the game where you're like, I got to work on that. Like there's so much stuff you can pick up on. And that's I just kept open-minded like all four of my years, and just keep working on different stuff.
Yeah, no, when you're in and out of the lineup as a freshman, how do you try to stay positive during that? And do you watch anything when you're healthy scratched, and try to help your game as well? Like, do you watch something that like Pat Shea might do that you can use for your game and when you get the chance to play?
Yeah, I mean, being a scratch is not easy because everyone comes there to play and do well. So it's really tough. But all you can do is just practice as hard as you can and show the coaches that you deserve to be in the lineup. And then hopefully the chips fall your way. But yeah, I think looking at the games from the stands is like definitely a different perspective, and you can pick up on like, you could look at different types of players. You're like, what does this guy do really well that I want to do? Or like, if I get the puck in this scenario, like look at what this guy does and see if I could do that. You can pick up on so much stuff from looking at it, but it still sucks sitting in the stands. So,
yeah,
you just got to try to take it as best you can and learn from it.
Now, you got to play with one of the best college hockey goalies of all time in Jeremy Sweyman. What can Bruins fans expect from him when he gets to make the NHL, and what was he like as a teammate from your experience in college?
Yeah, he's a great teammate, has great work ethic, great athleticism. He's a special talent. He just always takes that next step to try to be great. And I think obviously I'm not surprised he's off to a great start with Providence. I'm sure he'll be up soon enough, and he's going to be a stud for them. So I don't want to set the bar too high, but he sets the bar really high for himself, and he does everything he can to keep getting better. And he's a great kid. So I enjoyed playing with him, and he was a huge part of our team at Maine.
Now, last season, you were supposed to play UConn before the season got shut down. How did you find out, and what was the reaction to that, especially since you were on a good run towards the end of that season and you had home ice as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think we found out on Twitter, like everyone else, but then like right after the coaches, explained it to us, and it was brutal because I think all of us felt like we had such a special team in that room, and we were on a tear, and we just wanted that chance, and we would have gotten to the NCAA tournament, and that's something I always dreamed of doing, and that would have been the coolest thing ever. So I think that's just something you're always going to look back on as a what if thing, and it's going to suck, but
yeah,
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, everyone's lost a lot through this pandemic, so I mean, you can't hang your head or anything. It's just too bad.
Yeah, no, especially not just the NCAA tournament, but the hockey semifinals, getting to play at the Garden in that atmosphere. That's like something that I think most Hockey East players should experience, just because it's such a cool thing to do.
Exactly. I felt the same way. That's what I was like, I want to play at the TD Garden. Like, it would have been awesome,
It would have been much different than the high school hockey experience, just because like I think the arena is mostly all filled up when it's the Hockey East Championship, and plus just the atmosphere, the setting, the lights, it's all really awesome. And being a fan in that back in 2019, it was really cool to experience. And I'm assuming as a player, it must be awesome.
Yeah, it would have been way different. Yeah, it would have been so cool to experience. So, yeah, I mean, it's I think playing that tournament at the TD Garden, I think it's just the right thing to do, and it's really cool to experience, and having it on Nesson, I think it's I mean, something we grew up watching, so it's pretty cool to us.
Was it weird watching the Hockey East Championship game not at the Garden this year? Because I thought it was kind of weird, like for the first
It
period.
was weird, and it also gives UMass Amherst an advantage because it's their home ice and it's bigger. And Lowell battled. I thought they were a really good team this year, but they played like 4.5 periods of hockey versus BC. I didn't really expect them to come out with much, and they kept it really close. Like, they were one shot away from tying it. And I mean, it was a good game, but it was so weird watching that game. No fans at UMass Amherst for the championship. Definitely weird, but for them, I bet it's so rewarding.
Oh yeah, no, especially for those seniors to go out on your last home game to win a Hockey East Championship. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that was a good game, especially I thought Lowell had it, especially since with that review, I thought that could have been a good goal, and unfortunately it didn't turn out that way, but they battled hard, and defensively that's a really good team. And I think if they keep using that positive momentum for next year, they can be a really solid team in Hockey East.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, I want to ask you about another teammate you got to play with, Pat Shea. You were on his podcast. He's one of the funniest guys ever. He was on my podcast as well, and he's helped us grow as a little bit. What was he like as a teammate, though? Because everyone knows what he's like on camera, but what's he like off camera?
He's a really honest, great guy off camera. He works his bag off. Like, he's a really hard worker and a really tough player. So he might seem funny on camera, but like, he's a real honest, good guy off camera, and a close friend of mine. Can't say enough good things about Patty. He's a great kid.
What's the Chiefs puff story? Because I thought that was funny when you talked about it on the podcast.
Oh yeah. So I was a freshman, and we were having a party at the hockey house, and like, kind of the upperclassmen are telling us what to bring, and Pat like texted in the group message, and he was like telling me to get the Chiefs puffs, and he was like sounded like wicked pissed about it. So I was just kind of like so nervous, like, this kid's gonna be pissed, like, I gotta get these cheese puffs. And I brought him. He's like, "Oh, I'm just messing." Like, I was like, "Oh, Jesus," because I had no idea who he was, and I was just like, this kid, like, because I heard like he had a temper as a kid, and like he loves to fight. So I thought he was just like trying to I don't know, being like a tough guy or something. And then like when you get to know him, he's just like such a good guy. And it was so funny looking back on it where he's like, hey, bring the cheese puffs. And like, I don't know, it was pretty funny.
Now, what advice would you give younger players trying to pursue a Division I college hockey scholarship? And I'm really interested to hear your advice on this, especially since what you went through in high school.
Yeah. I mean, it's really tough. I think my advice would be just to, control what you can control and getting better, and like just focusing on every little detail of your game. And every time you're out on that ice, look to get something out of it. And then I think the next piece of it is like, you got to get in with the right people. If you're good enough, someone's going to find you, but you also have to have someone on your side to have those connections and find a spot for you to go. I think that's so huge. And like, just enjoy the game. Like, I think if you're so focused on, getting to that next level or getting what you want, like it can put a lot of stress and pressure on you. I think like if you invest yourself in the process of getting better as a player, like you're going to end up just fine.
Now, since you are a senior this year, what are your plans after graduation? Is hockey still in the works, or is anything? What's your plans, I guess?
Yeah. So luckily, the NCAA gave everyone an extra year eligibility to come back and play. So I'm going to return to Maine for one more year, just because I think 13 games and the result of our season wasn't the way I wanted to go out. So I'm excited to go back and give it another crack.
That's awesome. Congrats on that. And what are your expectations for next year, I guess? And do you think fans will be back at Alphon?
I mean, now that, anyone's eligible to get the vaccine at April 19th in Massachusetts, which is really cool, it gives me hope that there's going to be some type of fans in the Alphon. Do I think it's going to be packed? I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I expect some type of normalcy next year, or at least I really hope so. So, I'll be hoping and praying for that.
Now, do you have any shout outs you'd like to give to any of your family members, teammates, or anyone else before we let you go?
No, I just appreciate you having me on, and it was good talking to you. And probably I had no idea what to expect, and for you to say that, if you're from the town over from me and talking to someone who understands, where we're coming from, is pretty cool. So I appreciate you having me.
No problem. Thanks so much for coming on, Jack. I wish you nothing but the best moving forward for next year. I know you're going to do great things. And I just want to let you know that you're one of my favorite players to watch in Hockey East because you're from Shrewsbury. And I love your story, and you're making Central Mass hockey very proud. So I wanted to let you know that.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you, Matt.
No problem. Take care. Talk to you later.
All right. See ya.